Hello there! It's finally here, the first trailer for what could easily be the most anticipated Star Wars thing of the year. We've got the Grand Inquisitor, a young Luke Skywalker, and of course Ewan McGregor's return as that crazy old hermit who lives beyond the Dune Sea. So let's get into it. Shot by shot, here we go. If there's a bright center of the universe, you're on the planet that's the farthest from. That's where this trailer opens up, Tatooine. We've been here before, a lot, and recently. Anyway, we got Obi-Wan riding his camel-like beast of burden. Actually, that's called an Eopie. It's the same kind of creature we saw him riding at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Next, we got Obi-Wan entering a Tatooine city. Most likely this is going to be Mos Eisley, as that wretched hive of scum and villainy is in close-ish proximity to the Lars moisture farm. We got Obi-Wan doing some manual labor and riding across that barren Tatooine desert.
The fight is done. We lost.
We're hanging out in caves and watching over the Lars homestead, and oop, looky there, there's a young Luke Skywalker pretending to be a fighter pilot. Oh, look at him, he's gonna grow up and kill thousands of people. Like, deep thousands. The Lars homestead, by the way, we saw back in Attack of the Clones and again in Revenge of the Sith, and it also appears in A New Hope as the site of a pretty epic barbecue that Luke was pretty lucky to not be around for. Real quick, speaking of Luke, this trailer gives us a clear sense of when this happens on the Star Wars canon timeline. Luke's about 10 years old, so this should be about 10 years after Order 66 and about 9 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Stay hidden.
Obi-Wan reminds us of what his mission is, making sure Luke grows up without the influence of the Empire and also don't get caught and killed. Next, we got the Lucasfilm logo, but that's not where the fun begins. This is where the fun begins. That's Duel of the Fates, the epic John Williams score we first heard in The Phantom Menace when Qui-Gon Jinn and a young Obi-Wan squared up with Darth Maul. Maul survived that fight, or half of him did anyway. Seriously, long story there, but he would definitely still be alive 9 years before the Battle of Yavin. Of course, Obi-Wan does kill Maul on Tatooine, but not until much later. So technically, Maul could appear in this series, but at this point in the timeline, he's busy running Crimson Dawn, like we saw at the end of Solo, a Star Wars story, which is set around the same time. Next, we got a shot of an Inquisitor spacecraft with some voiceover. Thanks to closed captioning, we know that's the Grand Inquisitor. More on him in a second.
To hunting Jedi is patience.
The ship is headed for an Imperial Inquisitor facility, though we don't know if this is the Imperial Inquisitor facility. The Fortress Inquisitorius was essentially the training facility and home base for the Inquisitors, the force-wielding Jedi hunters deputized by Darth Vader himself and tasked with tracking down and eliminating any survivors of Order 66. Originally located on Coruscant, the Emperor later had the fortress moved to Nur, an ocean moon orbiting the planet Mustafar, where Vader hung his helmet. Cal Kestis and the former Jedi Seer Junda infiltrated, flooded, and escaped the base in the final act of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And that took place before the Kenobi series, about 14 years before the Battle of Yavin, meaning this is probably the same facility. And that's the Grand Inquisitor played by Rupert Friend. We first met him in Star Wars Rebels. This guy used to be a Jedi Temple guard before the fall of the Republic and subsequent rise of the Empire. He's cunning, ruthless, and his red lightsaber is cool and spinny. The Grand Inquisitor dies in a duel with the Jedi and Order 66 survivor Kanan Jarrus and his apprentice Ezra Bridger, but that's about 4 years down the timeline than when we see him here. And where is here? Looks like the Grand Inquisitor is inside a structure on Tatooine. Is he hunting Kenobi himself? We see a busted-looking speeder heading towards we can only assume is Mos Eisley before cutting to a shot of Obi-Wan inside, all in his feelings, as the Grand Inquisitor's VO keeps going underneath.
Jedi cannot help what they are.
Back inside the Inquisitor's fortress, under the ocean, like in Jedi Fallen Order. Real quick, let's take a look at who's in this room, and we're not talking about the Stormtroopers, obviously. We mean the 3 Inquisitors. The one on the far left we don't recognize, but the one in the center has a headpiece that looks like the 5th brother who was killed in Star Wars Rebels in a duel with Maul, but would still be alive here. According to StarWars.com, it is the 5th brother played by Sung Kang, who you might know from the Fast and the Furious franchise. Man, there's gotta be a Han Solo joke somewhere in there, but I got nothing. Moving on. Anyway, facing these Inquisitors is Reva, played by Moses Ingram. She's the third sister. Is she in trouble here? Or are these other Inquisitors just sending her out on a mission? Back on Tatooine, looks like Reva, the third sister, just hung somebody to try and draw out a Jedi in hiding. The Grand Inquisitor's voice continues.
Their compassion leaves a trail.
Hey look, it's Uncle Owen. Joel Edgerton reprises the role we first saw his Uncle Owen in Attack of the Clones and again in Revenge of the Sith. Here's Reva scoping out the situation from atop what looks like a building on a world that's not Tatooine. StarWars.com says this world is called Daiyu, and it looks a little bit like Coruscant's cyberpunky lower levels. Real quick, these two letters are characters in the Arabic alphabet E and R. Not saying she's hanging out at a hospital or whatever, but that's what those letters mean. These letters mean M, S, and K, we think. Again, probably doesn't mean much, but there you go. The Inquisitor's ship touches down on Tatooine, and look at that. Sand everywhere. So coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Anyway, the Grand Inquisitor's VO keeps going.
The Jedi Code is like an itch.
And that is actress Indira Varma playing an Imperial officer armed with an SE-14R Imperial blaster pistol, looking like she's about to go give somebody the business. We haven't seen Varma in Star Wars before, but you might recognize her from Game of Thrones, where one time she watched a future Mandalorian make the critical error of choosing to fight without a helmet. Back to the trailer. We got the as-yet unnamed Inquisitor hunting Jedi on Daiyu. And look at that. Obi-Wan seems to be there too. And this is where our biggest question comes from in this trailer. Assuming he does indeed leave Tatooine, what could possibly be so important that Obi-Wan Kenobi leaves Luke Skywalker and the Lars homestead unprotected on Tatooine? The answer to that question is what this series is really all about. Anyway, the Grand Inquisitor's voice continues.
He cannot help it.
We got a droid having a chat with a stormtrooper. Is this the obligatory droid character in this series? Or is this not the droid we're looking for? Sorry, I had to. Moving on. Looks like the droid's hand does something here, not really sure what this is actually, but we're willing to bet that it involves ruining that trooper's day. We got Reva doing some superhero parkour over the rooftops on Daiyu, and we hear a double-bladed helicopter lightsaber ignite. And the Grand Inquisitor's got that thing spinning all over the place as he presses the question to someone we can't identify.
Where is he?
We got Fifth Brother leading a squad of troopers through the streets on Daiyu. 2 escape pods hurtling off to destinations unknown. Who's inside of these? We've got Reva threatening someone on Tatooine with that fancy lightsaber of hers, and we think this is her looking at markings on a wall. And these next few shots answer a pretty big question. Can Obi-Wan Kenobi even use a lightsaber without bringing the Inquisitors down on him? The short answer is no, which means he's using a blaster, something he hasn't done in a long time.
So uncivilized.
And this is the final shot of the trailer showing this tired, stressed out dude in the middle of the desert. Does anyone know this guy?
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
Quick reminder that actor Hayden Christensen, who famously played Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, is confirmed to return as Darth Vader in this series, but this trailer gives us almost nothing on how he's supposed to factor into all of this, but we do hear his breathing apparatus as the show logo comes up. Epic, right? After such a long wait, our first real look at Obi-Wan Kenobi, but what did you think? How is he supposed to avoid all those Inquisitors? Let us know your best theories in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching, and for the full Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer, here it is right here, so definitely check that out, and don't forget to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.
General Kenobi, you are a bold one.